Here are our top 8 most evil women to ever exist. Number 1. Eileen Wuornos. Born on February 26, 1956, Eileen Wuornos was daughter to a child molester and sociopath, Leo Dale Pittman. Wuornos had a very rough childhood, which turned worse when she got pregnant at the age of 14. In order to have her baby, Wuornos had to drop out of her school, and she started working as a prostitute to make a living. At the age of 36 in 1992, she was convicted of murdering 7 men between the years 1989 and 1990. At first, the investigators couldn't figure out who was behind all these murders, as the killer didn't leave any clues behind. However, the case took an interesting turn when the police received items belonging to 2 of the victims from a pawn shop. Upon investigating the items, the police were one step closer to finding the suspect, and they were astounded to find out there was a woman behind these gruesome murders. These murders led her to be the first ever woman serial killer. When she was presented in front of the judges, she claimed that she killed these men in self-defense, but the authorities weren't convinced, as there was strong evidence saying the other way. After being arrested, she was placed on death row in 1992 and was executed in 2002 via a lethal injection. Number 2. Queen Mary I. Mary Tudor, aka Bloody Mary, was born on February 18, 1516, to the first wife of King Henry VIII. She was declared the Queen of England and Ireland in July 1553 and ruled till her death in 1558. She was a staunch Catholic and had immense hate for Protestants. This was because her father switched from Catholic to Protestant in order to divorce her mother and marry his second wife. When Mary took control of the throne, she immediately reverted all the laws set by her father. She implemented heresy laws that prohibited people of her kingdom to practice any religion other than the Queen's. If someone were observed following another religion, he or she was immediately sentenced to death. She believed that heresy was an infection, so she would kill and burn all those convicted in the act of heresy. During her reign, she burned more than 300 Protestants alive for the crime of heresy and was given the name of Bloody Mary. If you think those 2 are evil, wait till you hear the story of Amelia Dyer. Number 3. Amelia Dyer. Born in 1836, Amelia Elizabeth Dyer was an English serial killer who murdered infants in her 30-year baby farming period during the Victorian period of the United Kingdom. She was a practicing nurse who turned into a baby farmer after her husband died in 1869. Baby farming was a common practice in Victorian England, as young girls would pay baby farmers to take care of their babies. Children under baby farming weren't given the best care, as they were often neglected and abused, and Dyer was unparalleled to any other baby farmer in this regard. Where other baby farmers would at least provide food to the children under their care, Amelia would let the children in her care die out of hunger and neglect to increase her profit. She would also drug them with heavy doses of medicine to stop their crying and moaning. This didn't last long, as she was caught by the police and was sentenced to 6 months in jail. After she was released from jail, instead of learning her lesson, she opted for a completely different plan. She soon resumed baby farming, and this time, instead of letting the children die out of hunger, she would strangle them to death and then throw their bodies into the river. She was eventually caught and sentenced to death. Number 4. Beverley Allitt. Born on October 4, 1968, Beverley Allitt, aka the Angel of Death, was a full-time pediatric nurse in Lincolnshire, England, who was convicted of murdering and injuring infants and children. Allitt worked in the hospital's pediatric ward and was responsible for ensuring that the children were provided with medicines on time. Everything was going well until one day, Allitt decided to take the lives of many innocent children. She dosed the children in her care with heavy doses of insulin so that they would die from cardiac arrest. When insulin wasn't available, she would smother the children with a pillow until they died. For 59 days, she continued this act and attacked 13 children. She was arrested in November 1991 and was sentenced to 13 years to life imprisonment. Number 5. Elizabeth Bathory. Elizabeth Bathory, aka the Blood Countess, belonged to the noble family of Hungary. She married Ferenc Nadaski in 1575 and became a countess at just the age of 15. In 1610, she was accused of gruesome acts of serial killing and was confined to her home of Castle Kastice until death. Bathory holds the Guinness World Record for the most prolific female murderer, as she reportedly killed and tortured over 600 women. Bathory had built a special torture chamber in her palace where she would often torture women of her kingdom until they were dead. She loved to insert pins into the fingernails of her victims until they screamed from pain. Bathory would also tie her victims and coat their bodies in honey for ants and bees to attack. Many people consider her to be the first vampire in history, as she loved torturing women. Bathory also had a lust for blood, as she reportedly bit off her victims' flesh and loved to bathe in and drink their blood. Number 6. Irma Grese. Irma Grese was a warden at the Nazi concentration camps of Ravensbrück and Auschwitz, who was convicted for the exploitation of human rights. She was every bit as evil and cruel as the male guards of Nazi camps, if not more. She was known as the beautiful beast of Belen because of her brutality, cruelty, and vicious abuse. Grese loved abusing her prisoners and would give them a beating with her special whip on a daily basis. For her amusement, she would handpick prisoners to be a victim of the gas chamber and prey to half-starved dogs. The victims got to know about her devious acts, and Grese was sentenced to death on December 13, 1945. Irma Grese was the youngest woman to be executed in history. Number 7. Ilse Koch. As an indication of just how evil the Nazis could be, this list of the top 8 most evil women in mankind contains 2 Nazi women of rank. Ilse Koch, or as some people call her, the Witch of Buchenwald, was the wife of Karl Koch, the commandant of the Buchenwald camp from 1937 to 1941. Ilse would use her husband's power to torture and physically abuse the prisoners for her amusement. And when it came to abuse, Koch was in a league of her own, as she was known for making artifacts out of tattooed human skin. Her cruel acts were noticed by the US military, and she was arrested and tried in 1947. Koch was sentenced to life imprisonment, but later she committed suicide in 1967. Number 8. Carla Homolka. Carla Homolka was a young veterinary assistant who fell in love with Paul Bernardo and got engaged in 1987. After getting to know Paul, Homolka realized that he was a rapist and was intending to rape her 15-year-old sister, Tammy. Instead of confronting him, she did the most disgusting act one could do to her sister. She brought home a bunch of tranquilizers from the veterinary office and drugged her sister for Paul to rape. Tammy couldn't survive the heavy tranquilizer dose and eventually died of asphyxiation. Her family members believed that Tammy died due to natural causes, but little did they know that her own sister was behind her brutal death. After what she did to her sister, Homolka didn't stop, as she would abduct other girls with Bernardo for him to rape. Both of them were eventually caught and sent to jail. Homolka cooperated with the officials and told them everything the couple did to those young girls, due to which Bernardo was sentenced to life imprisonment and Homolka served 12 years in prison. These were some of the most evil women in the history of mankind. Who do you think was the most evil of them all? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more hair-raising videos like this. That's it from Crime 101 today. We'll see you in another video.